everybody. Welcome to Mommy Needs a Break. It is a podcast for new moms who do not have it together because guess what? We don't have it together, and there's no shame in that. I'm one of your hosts, Megan Thomas, at Meg Scoop everywhere.
And I'm Marisa Johnson, at She is Marisa J. Oh, it's me. Make sure to follow us. You know, Megan used to do this part, you guys. That's why
Marisa, you've been doing this part for like the last 5-6 episodes.
Really?
We're trying to
fine. Make sure to follow our podcast at MNAB Podcast. Make sure to check out our website at mnabpodcast.com and follow our Patreon to get uncut episodes, bonus little clips from us. Just great content.
Yes, you guys. So today's episode, we are going to be talking about fitness, feeding your child rice for like 4 days. Don't judge us. And a lot more. But before that, you see our new guest today. She's got this beautiful natural hair. She's glowing. She's newly engaged. She's a bonus mom of 4 boys. She's a fitness trainer. She's the founder of Thick Athletics Apparel. And she got an amazing body, especially her thighs, because I be like thinking in my head, my thighs look like that, but they really don't. Y'all give it up for Lita Lewis.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Lita, first of all, let me just tell you, I want to say a couple of months ago.
Everything?
I did, right. I was doing one of your fitness. I forgot which one it was. There was a guy with you. That's all I remember. It's on YouTube.
Right. I know you're talking about. Yeah, right.
Yes. So I did that, right? And I was like, oh, I got this. And at the end of it, I just laid on the floor. And I was just laying on the floor, sweaty. And then like I saw you and I was motivated. And I was like, I look like that after this workout. And then I looked in the mirror and was like, no, you don't. Maybe 1,000 more times and you're going to look just like Lita.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about. There's these YouTube videos in my collaboration with Self Magazine, which have really gone viral. Like I get hit up from people all over the world saying, I'm doing your workouts. It's kind of crazy when you think about how fitness can change someone's life and help somebody also mentally, especially through times of quarantine. So really cool.
Yes, so girl, I was doing that workout and one of these days, my thighs will look like yours and my abs will be the same as yours. Until then, I'm going to just pretend, okay?
Before we get into all this fitness talk, we have a segment called Aint No Shame, our mommy confession time, where we kind of lay out our shameful moments, but we don't judge each other. We don't shame each other. So today, Megan has one. What's your shameful moment?
I'm ashamed of this. Last week, my almost 2-year-old Maverick had rice in his meal every lunch and dinner for like 4 days.
Like white rice?
Like white rice. It was this. I know it's bad, guys. I know it, but I had so much rice in my rice cooker and I didn't want to waste it. Like I didn't want to be wasteful, right? So I had all this rice and I was like, okay, Megan, you gotta what are we gonna do with it, right? So Mav, you're gonna have he had vegetables and stuff with every meal, okay, and like his protein, but he had a little bit of rice for like 4 days in every meal. I'm sorry.
What were the meals?
I'm sitting here thinking, wow, is that to be shameful? I'm like, oh
it is because y'all know you ain't supposed to be eating white rice like that. But I'm gonna tell you, my Asian family Asian people be tearing rice up and they tear it up in that is not unheard of to actually have it at 3 meals. But being that I'm only half Asian, I just was like, that's probably not acceptable, Megan. So, he got different genes. His genes ain't 100% Asian. Like he got other stuff in him, which means you got to eat, you do have to eat different things, different type of bodies. They metabolize food differently. So I was just like, maybe not doing rice 4 days a week.
That actually isn't as shameful as some of your past moments.
It is.
It's not that bad.
I think I've given most of my shame. I think I've grown as a mom. I'm not as ashamed. And I think the stuff that I'm doing now isn't going to get CPS called on me because before, I don't know. But hey, he's good. And now we got other sides because I went through all that rice. So he's eating other healthy sides. What about you, Lita? Are there any shameful moments that you've had in your new mommyhood journey?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for so long. You know, the kids have been in my life for like 3-some years, and we actually have primary custody of them. So you know, almost overnight, I feel like I've been like a mommy because I'm with them full time overnight. And so I think for so long I've been trying to be so perfect or trying to do things that I think I know are always right, because anything outside of what I thought was not right was completely wrong. If that makes any sense. So it's funny that you asked me that question, because I'm kind of thinking, what have I done? And I'm like, that'll do, you know? You mentioned rice and it being food, and I think it triggered a thought. As somebody that lives in like the health and fitness industry, I'd like to think, and I have done so successfully, incorporate healthy foods and regimens and habits in my household, you know, trying to keep the pantry full of snacks where there are alternatives to your average, you know, potato chips and whatnot.
Right.
That has been successful, you know, for sure. But I think sometimes in the evenings when it's time to make dinner, like the first thing I think of is just like, what kind of carbs? What all the carbs? What is going to make them they feel satisfied and full as soon as possible? Because mind you, I have 4 growing boys from ages soon to be 14, soon to be 11. The twins will be 11 this year, and the youngest will be 8. And their daddy is 6'5", 250 pounds. So you can only imagine in those ages like how much they're eating and growing, literally. From Monday through Friday, I'm like, did you grow an inch? And sure enough, this one we have like, you know, the heights and whatnot, and they grow so rapidly. It's insane. I've not experienced this because I grew up with sisters. So I think my shameful moment, to answer this in a long-winded way, is when it comes to dinner, it's like potatoes, rice. It's like pasta.
All together.
Every now we throw some protein in there. I might get away with a bit of cabbage and some broccoli if it's like grilled in a certain way. But for the most part, girl, like all this idea of like healthy, like this idea of quinoa, never gonna happen in my household. Okay, just rice, pasta, bread, and we'll call it a day, you know? So I think that's something that I'm like, I know it's not good, but God, whatever it takes for you to be full.
Right.
So do you have to cook every day? Like in this pandemic when everyone's home, like you're cooking every day for all them boys?
Good question. To be completely honest and transparent, in the summer times, they spend it with their mother, right? So that we have them, you know, during obviously the school year, but and sometimes I do get to spend time with their mom. So they're out of state right now.
Oh, okay.
He and myself and their father is kind of like, go, okay, great time. But like honestly, I do find myself like really missing them, missing the energy they bring. And even though sometimes it can get really irritating, I do miss their little personalities and things of that nature. But before, obviously, with COVID and this quarantine, everything shut down. So I wasn't working or seeing my private clients one-on-one and all those types of things. Normally, and I will say this, I give all credit to their father. He's usually the one at home at that hour to prepare dinner, and I usually come in right as they're kind of finishing dinner for the most part. But because quarantine happened, I was home, they were home, and I was like, oh, okay, new skill. I'm very used to like just preparing food that is like ultra healthy for myself, which I do not care for. So I was thinking, okay, what can I make? And the idea of feeding this man and these 4 children is a task. It's a
That's
task.
amazing.
Like having a cookout like every night. Soon. You know, we are Costco's staff know us by face and name. So I think I was trying my best, and I really was preparing at least the idea of protein, carb, and then some vegetables.
That's funny.
Look, no, there is no shame in that, Lita. You are feeding a whole entire basketball team every day. No one's judging you. We get it.
Crazy.
Thank you.
Oh, we get it. So let's talk about some mommy tips, you guys. These are just a couple of helpful things we learned on the way. Marisa, what's your tip today?
Yeah. So I don't like to compare kids, but I was talking to my cousin yesterday. He just had a son, so that's his 3rd kid. And him and my newborn are around the same age. And he was like, oh, you're not going to like this. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, he slept from 8 to 8 yesterday. And I was like, 8 to 8. When I tell you last night, I was up from probably like 11:45 to about 2. And then she woke up again around 2:30. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this girl. She's just been up, up, up. And I was like, how did you get him to sleep from 8 to 8? She's like, sleep training. I was like, what is sleep training?
Ooh.
I mean, I heard about it for my first baby, but I mean, we just kind of did every 2 hours. I mean, we didn't try to keep her up all day. It's like torture to try to keep a newborn up all day. They're like drowsy and sad and miserable. But he said sleep training is what allows your child to sleep through the night. So yesterday I kind of tried it, but I think it messed her up even worse because I was trying to keep her up all day. And then she just didn't sleep all night. It was like the craziest thing. I was so frustrated. Yeah. I think potty train is like way easier than trying to sleep train your kids. So if anyone has tips on how to sleep train a 4-month-old baby, please let me know because I hit it with like makeup today, but I was up all night last night with this child. And it was like, I told my sister this the other day or today, this morning. I was like, if she wasn't cute, I swear, I don't know. I would think I would just let her cry.
If you had an ugly baby, but like
maybe I don't know because I looked at her like at 2:30 I was changing her diapers and she smiled at me and I was like,
so cute.
You lucky you're cute because if you wasn't, I don't know if you would be picked up right now.
Yeah,
but yeah, if anyone has an advice on sleep training, because supposedly it works. My cousin sleeps through the night. He is like good. He was living his life the other day, happy, rested. And I'm just over here miserable and tired.
You know what? I'll say this. Every baby is different, but I will tell you with Mav, I realize like you have to figure out what your tolerance is to let your child cry because
I have none.
See, that's what I'm saying. Some kids, like they'll scream bloody murder. And as a mom, like like when they fall or anything, like you feel it, like you know what I mean? Like I'm sure Lita, like with your bonus boys, like if something happens, like those are your babies, you know what I mean? So it's like,
sure.
You see what I mean? So it's like you don't want them to cry, but at some point you may be like, hey, like I remember the first time we tried to sleep train Mav, he did not sleep. He was just like Arya. He would not sleep. And to be honest with you, it took him until he was like 14 months for him to sleep through the night. But it really was, honestly, it was me because I didn't want him. He's my first baby. I didn't want him to sleep away from me. So we had him in the crib. And at first he was like, no, I sleep in your bed. Like, I don't sleep in this ain't my bed. So I remember one night I was just like, I couldn't take it anymore. And I told my fiance, I was like, yo, we got to do something. And he was like, I've been telling you, but I just been letting you do what you want to do. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll just try to sleep train him. So I laid him, I soothed him, everything. And instead of like laying with him, I just like left him in the crib and like walked out. He cried for like 20 minutes. Now, mind you, most people, most experts say go in after like 5 minutes or, like keep increasing it. I tried that at first. It was worse. So I was like, okay, let me just stay out here because every time I went in, it would set him off again and he would start the cycle over. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna just stay out here. And after 20 minutes, he was crying and then he just stopped. And I had to look on the monitor. I was like, is he breathing? Is he alive? And he was fine. But it was, that I had to get over that hump. That was us. Now, my cousin was like, how dare you? She was like, we don't do that. Especially in Asian culture, you don't let your baby cry. They're not supposed to cry. So she, to this day, her son, I think like 3 or 4, and she like still like puts him to sleep. She still has to like lay down with him and everything. So I was just like, what life do I want? What?
I'm at that crossroads. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this child.
But Arya doesn't sleep in a crib, right? She sleeps like
she sleeps in the DockATot in between us. And then that's it. She doesn't like her bassinet. I tried to put her in the crib. She doesn't like that. She don't like to be put straight on the bed. She wants the arms, or she wants to go to sleep in your arms. And the moment you put her down, it's over. So she's
you might have to do a little bit of crying. You might have to do the little 5-minute method. Go back, go touch her. I'm here. I don't know. Awful. But the longer you wait, the rougher it's gonna be. Because girl, it took till Mav was 14 months because I was so afraid of like, I don't want him to be too far. So he went from waking up like every 2 hours. And then by the time he was 14 months, he would wake up once or twice a night, which the doctor was like, there's no reason he needs to be waking up like that. Like our doctor was like, it's you. And I was like, you're right, it is me. But like when I finally did that, it took him 2 nights. Two nights. The first night he cried, and the second night he barely cried, and that was it. And he went to sleep. And I was like, whoa, I could have been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
it was the first time I was actually jealous of somebody else's kid. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But
8 to 8.
It's all right.
8 to 8.
That sounds a little bit abnormal in the
8 to 8. I was like, what?
Never heard of that.
A 4-month-old? That is amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm. He might even be a little younger than Aria, to be honest. I think he might have came right after her, but so send your help to me.
Yes. All right, y'all, let's scroll. What you find on your timeline today?
So we keep talking about the kind of same thing, but I think we're going to keep talking about it until, we see some change. But this past week in Kentucky, 100 or close to 100 protesters were arrested for peacefully protesting for the wrongful death of Breonna Taylor. They were outside of the Attorney General's house, Daniel Cameron. Some of those who were arrested were Tamika Mowry, Yandy Smith, Portia Williams, Kenny Stills, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. And it blew my mind because they were in there for about 11 hours until a few of them were released. And what they said was that the police department was trying to find an actual law that they could charge each protester with like an actual felony. So it took them that long to actually find something to throw at them. And I think what amazes me is they can spend that time and arrest these people that quick and find a law a felony, not even a misdemeanor, an actual felony. But they can't actually go and press charges to the police who actually killed this innocent woman. And I'm like, how, and when I start to really dig and look at this thing, I'm like, how is this actually possible? How does the law actually work? Most of us aren't in that field, but when you start to wrap your head around it, it's I had to get off the internet. I was like, I can't even look at this, So, I don't even know how to pose the question, but it's how do we even wrap our heads around these things? Right. it's every week is something else, I don't know.
Lita, I was going to ask you, dealing, seeing the stuff that's been going on in the news and seeing a lot of people who look like us being either killed or arrested unjustly. How has that affected you, during this, where we have to stay at home? It's a pandemic. How has that affected you and your feelings about what's going on that has been going on basically since the beginning of the formation of this country?
I think a lot of people, I've asked this question to friends and peers and coworkers myself, because, in times like this, not only just with the COVID-19 and being quarantined, there's a whole civil war also that is happening in this country. And as people of color, at first, I should only just speak for myself first and foremost. At first, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed by how could this even happen? Oh my gosh, is racism that prevalent and strong that I've not personally seen or experienced anything? At first I'm just in disbelief. I'm just flabbergasted that something with George Floyd, for instance, can actually happen and happened in broad daylight without any type of remorse in the act itself. And then comes this idea of sadness. Oh my gosh, this happened to someone's father, someone's brother, someone's child. And so I'm then sad. And then I go through this another process where I'm just angry and infuriated because all of a sudden I see George Floyd's face, but then I see the kids, I see my fiance, and then I recognize now, for people of color in this country, the only justice that we're going to see is what we're going to fight for, what we choose to fight for. And that's a really scary thing. It's a scary thing that there's life and death that literally burdens us from a day-to-day basis, where there very little consequence. And that then makes me not just sad, but then the sadness and the anger then becomes something else. And then I get scared. So then I get into this fear of being fearful. And even though the kids are with their mother, I'm like, call the kids. Let's see how they're doing. And then is their mother aware? Should she be, because, they're at summertime, so they probably are having a good time. And I'm just thinking, it's New Orleans, and it's not obviously another safe place for children of color to be around, without any supervision either. So I don't know. To answer that question, it's really funny because I've just done this, and I continue to do this. Some days I feel really inspired by the movement itself, seeing other Black and brown faces and allies kind of come forth and speak and use their platforms. I get really inspired and hopeful. And other days, I am completely devastated. And I'll be honest, I'm not really a hardcore emotional person, but I found more than ever these past 4 months, I'll just randomly be on social media, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, see something, read something, and just weep. And then, guy might walk, he's, hey, what's the matter? And I'm like, it just doesn't stop. Oh my gosh, this could be Trey. And, sure enough, he's like, well, what happened? And just like, I find myself really emotional. And because it's real for us. And even now, for me personally, I have family back home in Australia. And I'm now dealing with, this happening on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But then I have my own family who, again, we're very multicultural, that are using their platforms and social media with the All Lives Matter. And basically things of this nature. Let me just say that. Yeah. And I'm not trying to call out anyone or family especially, but then something else dawns on me, right? Something else really important where I recognize even the people that I love and that I know love me, that would do anything for me, and vice versa, have a level of ignorance to the impact of what BLM actually means, that I found myself exhausted. Like, well, it doesn't actually mean this. It means this. and having to even kind of be in that place to have to define it or have to explain it or have to bring clarity. I'm just like, oh, now I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. And it's just, I don't even know how to speak on the topic anymore. Like, I feel, I don't know if that makes any sense, and I apologize if I'm rambling, but between what's happening in the world, conversations I'm having with my peers and family, especially with family, I find myself kind of just, I don't know where I am, but my only responsibility in this time is just to constantly make sure that I'm okay, make sure I'm practicing self-care. Because if I kept thinking about what this cousin said and what the wife of this cousin said, and then I would just be so angry and full. Like, I don't want to allow my energy to even feed into that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's so funny that you say that, because I have family too, and I was just like, like, you've been my family my whole life. Like, you don't get this? You don't see that this is really, you're trying to understand. And so I realized, it doesn't matter if people are family. Everybody's experience is very different from the next person. Even if you thought they should understand because they love you, right? But apparently that is not the case. And so I think it's just, I'm exhausted extending grace to people and trying to teach them, but then at the same time, I think about, well, if I don't teach them, then what if me teaching them is the reason why they change their mind and they understand? You know what I mean? So then I have that guilty feeling of like, well, if I don't help them, then what if they then feel that way about my son or somebody around them, So let me just push through the exhaustion and just try to explain this again. And I'm tired of it.
I think one thing that we didn't cover in the interview, but I think it's a good segue into the interview, because we haven't talked to anyone in the fitness and the health and the wellness sector in this time. But what would you recommend? Because you said it, making sure that you're okay, that you practice self-health. What would be a few things that you would recommend for us to do in these times when we're, scrolling, when we're talking to people we've never met, fighting with people? I mean, I do the same thing, cry. What would you recommend, us to do so that we can take care of our mind and our body in this time?
Absolutely. I think it's like so important because, again, there's all these different layers to 2020, right? It's not just the pandemic. It's the fight for equality and awareness to what's really happening to disadvantaged peoples in this country. I think for me, I live obviously very much in the space of health and fitness. I can constantly, lead a workout or tell people what to do to take care of their physical form. But I come from very much a place where I understand and acknowledge that true health is really is much more than fitness. It is emotional, it is spiritual, it is mental, and it's really important to practice self-care and this idea of maintaining a level of self-love for yourself, especially in times of these of such hardship. So for me personally, we mentioned like scrolling on Instagram and looking. I found myself, in order to kind of literally reset and be okay in a moment, I have to turn the news off. I have
That's good.
Down, and then people are like, well, I don't know how to do that. What's self-care? Like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, I do stuff that I with my friends. What is this idea of self-care? And it comes in many definitions for different types of people. For me, self-care is this idea of practicing something or doing something or being still that really just feeds into my personal happiness. So what makes me happy? What makes me happy is music. What makes me happy is a really good read. What makes me happy is the simple things like literally finding a beautiful park, sitting under a tree, looking up through its branches. What makes me happy is meditation, prayer, like little things. Sitting in a bathtub, with by candlelight. Little things like that, I absolutely fall under self-care for myself. And these things that I do, perhaps not every single day. Well, I take that back. There's definitely prayer and meditation, even if it's 5 minutes every day. But the idea of soaking in a bathtub or going to the beach and watching horizon, stuff like that, I have to incorporate because in essence, it makes my soul happy. And when I'm happy on the inside, then I'm motivated to like honor my body and move and find movement on a daily basis, eat right. So to me, it's really important to like stop and kind of avoid all the different resources that penetrate, that trigger unhappiness, which is for me, personally, watching the news on a consistent basis. Like literally at the beginning of this quarantine, the news was just happening on my TV.
Oh my gosh, every day.
And I just realized, oh my gosh, how unhealthy has that been? So now that never happens, I'm usually playing a great playlist on Spotify. And I limit my time on social media. As someone whose business is definitely social media, I obviously honor that and create content where I can like service people and create content that's going to help my audience. But for the most part, I don't have to sit there and go through every single thing and absorb that energy. I just refuse to do that. And so that's my biggest recommendation, just to avoid what causes unhappiness and then practice what causes happiness,
That's good.
Oh, that's good, Lita. I need to ask you about that because, been unhappy for a long time. And I realized I'm an emotional eater. So I've gained this baby weight that hasn't gone away.
Ooh.
So I'm now taking a journey. Marisa and I have been talking about this. Like we're both on our fitness journeys, trying to get back to like our healthy, happy places. And I realized that you got to do the inner work too, because a lot of times that affects the outer work, right? So talk to me, did you have a fat phase? Like what made you go, I'm going to be a fitness trainer? Like, tell me that story.
That's a good question. I always tell this story and I feel like I take it back too far. So let me try to basically I didn't necessarily have a fat phase, right? Like, I mean, there's me in my physical form and I've definitely been bigger and then I've been smaller, The idea of like the word fat being like perhaps grossly overweight, if you will. Like I will say this as a disclaimer. The idea of fat to me is not necessarily a size because that's very different for all different types of people. Have I been fat? Absolutely. But in the definition of fat, you would say that was your fat stage, really? That's like like my monthly stage for a week. You know what I mean? Just bloated. But like for me, how I came into this space in health and fitness was pretty simple. I actually turned to bodybuilding. I actually competed on stage, and I competed as a women's figure competitor. And the sport itself, I didn't know how to describe it anymore. It obviously a very extreme sport. So I took on, although I competed completely naturally, my level of training was intense, multiple times a day, and my diet was probably ridiculous. Anybody that looked at that's what you eat. I'm like, wow. So in that space of bodybuilding, I was competing against women that were actually much smaller than me. My nature, by size, I'm half Polynesian. I just carry a thicker frame. And my coach at the time used to always say this, and I'll never forget it. Come on, baby girl, we just got to keep fighting those genetics. Just fight those genetics. And that became a thing. Like, I'm naturally thicker in the thigh, but in order to step on stage and do well, I had to be this small. And so, long story short, I competed. I did well. I enjoyed it, but then it served its purpose, and I no longer needed that extremity in my life. Then I fell into fitness because I was carrying this body using social media, and there was all these women saying, "Oh my gosh, I want to look like you. How can I do X, Y, and Z?" And to answer those questions, I recognized I was teaching and preaching really unhealthy methods. And I was like, how does this ever translate or be relatable to your average mom of 3 who's really just trying to essentially be the best version of herself? But I'm telling her she's got to eat broccoli and tilapia 6 times a day, like literally, in order to do what I have. I was like, this can't be it. And then after competing, my body bloomed. Right? I say bloom like it's a beautiful thing, right? In the most beautiful way. Meaning, I'm now drinking a lot more water. I'm eating the salt. So I'm not like super dehydrated and all that stuff. And then I recognized that in sharing on social media, my audience were like, well, girl, you're getting fat. Oh my gosh. Are you still?
No.
And then I was like, nothing changed outside of my diet. Just wasn't eating crazy, but I was still working out like every other day. And then I was like, you know what? You can't tell me that I'm not strong. I'm not fast. I ran track. So I was always an athlete. I was still doing everything that the regular fitness, influencer was doing. Only I just looked a different type of way. Yeah. That's how it all started. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just be another definition of what it looks like to be fit, muscular, but feminine, and then start preaching a healthy word that I know that women could actually relate to. So I wasn't telling them to eat small 6 meals a day, 6 ounces of tilapia with a cup of broccoli, and then snacking like literally 11 almonds, no more, just 11 almonds. Like I wasn't doing that.
Oh man.
My message just became literally move your body because you want to honor the vessel that you're in. Practice self-care because a life that is like without this idea of feeding in whatever you love is not a life lived, right? And then find out what the best definition of yourself is, and let's just be that. Let's eat and drink margaritas on the weekends. Don't worry, in moderation. So my messaging just became really what I think just realistic, but also encouraging people to basically aim to be the best versions of themselves,
Yeah, that's really good.
Yes.
I was gonna say, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Marisa.
No, because this is my second child, and I think I had her, and then COVID broke out, and then I think I gained another 15 pounds in COVID. But in this time, like I knocked off 20, so I knocked off 20 pounds so far. And then after that, I thought I was going to go hard and like, okay, next 6 weeks, I'm gonna do this. But in this past 2 weeks, I've just kind of found like, okay, I'm eating like how I kind of was when I was watching what I was doing, when I was trying to lose those first 20 pounds. But I would have like a glass of wine the other day and I wasn't measuring my food. Like these past 2 weeks have kind of just been like, oh, okay. I'm like, I feel like a human again. I feel happy again. I feel like I don't have to be as strict. Like I just kind of I feel good. Like it doesn't feel like, okay, I have to just eat this cauliflower rice and this section.
I tell my clients all the time, I'm saying, be kinder to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
To yourself. Sure. And you're kind to your coworkers, you're kind to your kids, be kind to your damn self. Yeah. And that's like, I'm like, if you're gonna, girl, I have a client that's like, girl, I had a latte and it wasn't even milk. And I'm like, listen, if you want to order that latte and order that cookie or 2 or 3, you better drink that and eat that cookie and love it and not feel guilty for it because you've chosen to go there. Yeah. That's fine. It's okay. It is okay, right?
Yeah.
Because she still comes in and trains 4 or 5 times a week. She's like, moderation. But you don't want to live a life where like, it's like you're ordering pizza for the kids on a Friday night and you're like, oh, I just feel guilty. I just don't want to do it. Just do it. Eat the stuff. Doesn't mean you're gonna have to eat for the entire week. It's
Right.
just, everybody associates guilt with the food that they're going to choose. If it feels that bad, then you got to think about your choices.
Right.
Personally, I literally eat whatever I want. Mind you, it's COVID. I've gained some weight too. That's okay because I know exactly what I need to do in order to reverse that. But while I'm doing it, I'm not gonna feel guilty for it. I'm okay with it. It's okay.
See, I need to get that, Lita, because I don't feel guilty about eating these Oreos, but then I don't get up and work out. So then that's the problem.
Over a long extended period of time, for sure. But like I said, moderation is obviously very key. And if you want to enjoy that food, but tomorrow we get active. We do a little
And I feel like when you take that pressure off of yourself, like I woke up, usually I'll work out Monday through Friday. But I woke up the other day, Saturday, and I was like, I'm going to get my ride on. And I did a quick 15-minute ride. And it was just because there was no pressure to do it. Yeah. It was just something I wanted to do.
Oh my gosh. I'm a big believer. When we move in love
for
ourselves, for anything, anyone, more good comes about it. And not only that, you're just attracting goodness in your life. And if you feel there's always that some person I'm just so unmotivated. I don't this idea I'm it's really hard for me to actually sit oh, poor you.
Right.
Just literally just change your mindset.
Just change your mind.
And if you say, you know what, I'm sitting on this couch, it feels good to do nothing. But guess what? At 1 o'clock, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna get up, get changed, wash my face, and I'm just gonna take a walk around my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts with the little things. I'm telling you. So,
I
love that. I love if I'm gonna share anything, usually when I get to speak with people or audience online, it's be kind to yourself. So much good comes of that.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna get these thighs looking like yours real soon. Just wait, Lita.
You talked about not, being super thin and just being who you are. What made you want to create Thick Athletes apparel? And is that does those go hand in hand with the whole mission?
Yeah, especially my transition out of bodybuilding, the sport of bodybuilding, and then becoming influencer in the health and fitness space online. I started also doing pop-up boot camps all over the country in different states and cities. And I would say certain things all the time as I'm playing the drill sergeant, screaming at them, more reps and whatnot. I would say quirky little things all the time, whether or not it was those thick thighs are going to save lives, or love thighs, girl, you better love those thighs. Those thighs give you strength. Don't hate those thighs. Those thighs, little things like that. And I recognize that it was actually, my friends, I call them friends versus fans or followers, that were like, oh my God, put that on a t-shirt, girl. I want to wear that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was just honestly responding to demand. And then, so I would just put quirky little things on tanks and t-shirts and hoodies that a lot of folks would be wanting to wear, especially at events that I was hosting. And then it turned into a thing. I was like, oh, I'm just sharing empowering messages that you can wear. Now, it's kind of been something that's happened really unintentionally, if that makes sense. And recently, I would say in the past, COVID happened. So in the past, less than a year or so, I was like, you know what, I could really flesh this out. And I'd love to be able to be, more entrepreneurial in the space of apparel, especially because it's obviously it's the only clothes I pretty much wear. So I'm really happy about that. Just getting women in clothes that fit them right, look cute, and hug the thighs. You know what I mean? I'm really big on women just loving the bodies that they're in at whatever size, because loving yourself at a larger size is to me the most empowering thing, especially in a society where it tells us constantly that we have to be a certain size to be beautiful, to be feminine, to be acceptable. Right. And I'm like, F that. Do you love yourself? I love you. And but when you share that community and share that verbiage, it works wonders for women. And women come to me crying. There's young women I get to speak to all the time that are like, oh my gosh, I've always had bigger girl thighs than all my friends, and I've never worn shorts. And hearing your messaging really empowers me. And that honestly is kind of silly as it may seem, just key messaging that I'm able to share with people, really resonate and help people and change people's lives. That it's again something fun and quirky that started off for me, but now I truly believe it's my God-given purpose. It's just to live my authentic self and it's about women just to love themselves at every size, but can obviously continue to strive to become the best versions of themselves. And basically, in answering your question, honey, this how Thick Athletics came about is just creating apparel that comes in sizes from extra small to like 2XL, fun, quirky things, sayings that empower them. So that's how.
You might as well get me one.
I know. I like the one that says FFI gap. I was like, oh yes. I can't tell you the last time I had a thigh gap was like 1987, girl.
Don't worry. We don't want those thigh gaps. Let me tell you. I've probably about 7 to 8 pounds since COVID. Again, I'm all right. I could be, in the gym a little more, but like, I'm all right with it. I know how it came about. So it's not like, how did this happen?
Oh yeah.
And my fiance, he's like, yes, he loves it so much. When I gain weight, it is like literally I could probably be twice my size. He'll be like, yes. But the minute that I'm like, ooh, I'm like super lean and I feel good, he's like, So, trust me, your husband wants you to be thick,
Seriously,
right.
I was like, am I going to share this story? But now I'm going to share this story. We were at the pool on the July 4th, and I didn't get in. And then my sister was like, why didn't you bring it? Or where's your bathing suit? I was like, oh, I didn't bring it. She's like, oh, you want to wear mine? I was like, no. And then my husband was like, are you not getting in the pool because the way you look? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly why. He was like, babe, you what? And he was so appalled. And I was like, wait, are we looking at the same person? Like, I don't understand. But that made me feel really like, Marisa, you need to get this together. Like, right. You really need to get this
You
together.
Cute, girl. You've been working hard too.
Come on, man. But they love it. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say, Lita, tell us about you're hosting a show, Hello Fitness TV, right? So what is that about?
So I think I might have mentioned earlier, for me, fitness, although I live in a space of health and fitness, to me, fitness and health specifically is so much more than physical activity. And I've definitely coined a brand with being like a workout chick, so to speak. But as I sort of grow into my womanhood and into more maturity, I recognize now in order to sustain what optimum health is, you have to feed also the mental, spiritual, and emotional aspects of your health too, the inner work. And so Hello Fitness TV came about, because I simply said, look, health is more than fitness, and I should be talking about those things more. Mm-hmm. And so I've collaborated with this amazing woman, Maureen, who is like the EP of the show, so to speak, and she's really finding great talent for me, and we're kind of putting together what was supposed to be like an in-person show, but now is obviously similar to this. We're doing online streaming and such. But I'm really passionate about it because not only do I get to speak to my favorite fitness personalities, but we're interviewing doctors, psychologists, those that are lifestyle bloggers, and just really the gamut is like so wide open. And that to me is what I'm most passionate about, not just this bubble of fitness, but this overall platform of what it means to live a happy, healthy life,
Mm-hmm. Girl, I'm over here. As you're talking, I'm looking at your finger. Let me see this ring.
I know. I was like, is it diamond?
Let me see.
I don't even wear, I don't know if you can say it. I don't wear jewelry.
Halo?
I'm a jewelry person, and so I'm still getting used to having something there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really weird. And
is it a teardrop?
It is like a pear. Yeah.
Oh, a pear shape. Oh, yes.
Cute. Oh my
gosh.
The
halo? Is it like a halo?
It's a halo. He did so good. It's funny. Guys together some year. Sometimes it feels like 25 years. But I think at the beginning, maybe when we were dating, I think he might have mentioned it. And that's the only time we've ever spoken about a ring, right?
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, we've already committed. To me, marriage is this idea of a lawful marriage is cute, cool. I'm not against it. But I'm very much doing life with him. He's very much my person, or vice versa. The responsibility of this family is very much something I'm committed to. So to me, I'm married. We bought a home together. We did, as far as I'm concerned, we did everything backwards as far as tradition goes. But I was really impressed when I saw it because one, I don't wear jewelry, so you couldn't really get a sense of my,
Yeah.
And then he remembers. Can you remember X amount of years ago you mentioned something about a pear? If I was ever get a dog, it was just really sweet in that moment. His proposal was honestly probably one of the best moments of my life. So he did good.
Oh, he did. And
good
I looked
job.
at, I mean, I was like, I wanted to get tearful. I looked at the pictures that you posted with you, you're sitting there thinking it's a photo shoot. And then here are the boys with shirts on that say, "Will you marry us?" I was like,
Oh,
this is like the cutest proposal.
He you know what's funny? He's not really the romantic type, but he did so good.
He
He
did.
comes out, he comes out and surprises me like maybe once a year. You know what I'm saying?
That's all you need, girl. That's all you need. How did you guys meet? Tell us about that.
Funny, we actually met in New York City. I had lived in Brooklyn for 10 years, and I had literally, after 3 years of contemplating, committed to moving to the West Coast because I recognized, again, in my journey of womanhood and maturity, I was like, I love Brooklyn. I love New York. I do. But there was something about the winter times that were really infringing on my personal happiness. You feel me? So I was like, okay, seasonal depression is real. And I could keep trying to escape New York and go to California and spend as much time as I can there before I have to fly back into JFK and feel miserable again. Or I could just move to California and then go back to New York when I needed that buzz or energy. Anywho, I apologize. Again, I ramble. Well, we met
We love it.
literally exactly 8 weeks before I had to move to LA. So we met randomly in front of a Whole Foods, which is kind of cute.
okay.
I'm crossing the street. I'll never forget. I know exactly where we were. And I see this tall, handsome man leaning up against the wall right next to the door. And I'm walking across the street. I'm like, oh, he cute. I kind of look down, trying to navigate pedestrian traffic. I look up and I see he looking at me. So I'm like, oh, okay. Hey. I'm walking right towards him, though. I'm walking right towards him because he's right at the front door. And but I intended to walk in. I wasn't trying to. But I noticed that he kind of leaned off the wall and he was like, what's up? And I was like, nothing much. I said, I'm about to walk into this store and do some groceries. He's like, okay. And I was like, would you like to join me? And he's like,
oh.
Yeah. Rest is history. Mind you, we were friends at first. There's always a situation and after he buys my groceries.
Yes.
Oh, from Whole Foods.
Girl, I know he dropped about $80 on a couple items. And then so we just sat and was just chatting. And I was like, I don't know what this is, whatever, but I'd like to, obviously continue to get to know you. And I think from there, we actually became a really good, accountability kind of system because he was going through something. I was going through something. And I just really respected him because right from jump, he told me his whole situation. He was a father of 4. Mind you, when I heard that for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, all right. I was like, but he was just so intelligent, and I really enjoyed his conversation. We became friends, and then just over time, by the time it was ready for myself to leave out of New York, I remember just feeling like I'm really gonna miss our friendship. I was like, I don't know how this happened in such a short period of time, but that's how it started. And then from there, I don't know. Honestly, I look back and I feel like I blinked my eyes, and then my life went from Miss Independent, single in New York City, living that life, to now LA with 4 kids, a husband down there, and a mortgage. I was like, what? It's kind of funny that we talk about it, but life happened really quick, and I know I think it's still a beautiful story nonetheless.
What was it like the first time you met the boys?
Oh my God, I was a nervous wreck. Mind you, we were then officially dating for quite some time, and then was like, when will it make sense for me to meet them and that type of thing. There was no rush, nor did I pressure Guy, but I wanted it to come from him, and it very much did. And I was super nervous, but at the same time, because I had known of them, and seen pictures of them for almost over a year at that point. Meeting them was like meeting some 4 individuals that you feel like you already knew, but were nervous to meet. So it was very cute. It ended up being on a date. They were going to meet Daddy's friend, and then Daddy's friend wanted to go to Sky Zone, and we were going to jump and have a good time. And honestly, these boys are just so amazing. And I know that there's a lot of people in similar situations like myself that have dealt with some real kind of horror stories. But honestly, given their parents have done a wonderful job with them, and Guy's perhaps one of the most phenomenal fathers I have ever met in my life, and just watching him parent and learn from him has been such a blessing. And then I get it because the kids are just really wonderful children. And so from jump, they were like, cool, do you want to do this? I'm like, yes. And so I think I have very much boy energy because let me tell you, it'd be a whole different story if he had 4 daughters, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could tell you that.
And sports and all that kind of fun stuff really kind of is aligned to my energy. So I've been really blessed and lucky with having like a really cool journey of getting to know them, become a friend. And I like to think that I'm somebody that they trust and care about very much.
Wait, were you like, did they know? They were like, we know your daddy's girlfriend? Or was it like, oh, you're just this lady that's a friend? Like, how was that transition?
Well, the kids were super young. Like Gavin was 4 when I met him, right?
Okay.
And there's 3 years, they're 3 years apart, but there's twins in the middle. So, I think the verbiage at first was very much daddy's friend because I didn't know. He didn't know. Well, I remember him asking me, how would you like to be introduced? And I'd be like, let's just play it safe. Let's just get a feel. Like, I remember just being really nervous about it. But I think, like, life happens. And, all of a sudden, they're living with us, and without going into all that detail. But now I'm very much the motherly figure in their space from morning to night. And that came a time where, obviously we become very transparent and use certain verbiage that young children can understand. And they were fine with it. In fact, I think the oldest, who kind of was like, yeah, I don't know.
Duh.
And it made sense. There was only so much we could do to kind of like not be like super affectionate. But honestly, that came from me. Guy was really like open to like being 100% transparent with them. It was kind of me that was like, can you not try to ask me? Like, they weren't even looking. I'm like, just please. I was that person. But honestly, now I recognize, especially actually, because I didn't grow up with parents that were like super affectionate, that just even the idea that he like comes and sit next to me and holds my hand and the boys see that is actually, I think, healthy. Because especially for a young Black man, that to show and show respect to the person that you're with is really important. And Guy is that person. Like, I cannot ever touch a car door ever. If no one is running over to open the car door, it's a situation. And when I say I mean that, he'll stop them and be like, what's the problem here? They're like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna get it. And so things like that I recognize are all part of how he's intentionally and consciously trying to raise 4 young Black men. And I applaud him. He's a wonderful father.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really cute. They're great kids.
Are there any challenging moments when it comes to being a bonus mom?
Oh my gosh. I think there's more challenging than there is. I say this all the time. Loving them and being in their lives, even in the capacity in which I am in, which is not necessarily like the norm. Usually it's kind of the opposite, has been the biggest blessing of my life. Like, there's no questions asked. Loving them is the easiest part. Loving Guy is the easiest part. And so, but then stepping into a role, and again, I always say it felt like overnight, because it really is how it kind of happened, that I become now, like a mother figure. And it took, I'm not gonna say, like, I crawled through that process. Like, for me, it wasn't like this, okay, I've got to be like this. It was like, oh, snap, I got to do that? Oh, okay.
You talking to me?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think even in that process, I look back and I'm really grateful for Guy and the kids for giving me that grace and not like, hey, aren't you supposed to, it was all like, I'm going to just work through this and you're going to feel comfortable when you feel comfortable. But I think the biggest challenge, honestly, is, and just speaking really transparently, to be honest with you ladies, is perhaps not having the healthiest relationship, not having a healthy relationship with the kid's mother and wanting to be, I recognize this in doing my own personal work, especially when I've had the time over quarantine, is that I recognize because that relationship isn't solid, or at least the way I would like it to be, it then stops me from feeling comfortable to perhaps be even more closer to the boys. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With them I'm very much, I try to do my very best in caring for them, nurturing them, providing for them. But I think also there's like a few more steps for me to get to that place of this is like it's just there's something there. And I honestly feel like perhaps that won't be fully filled until I have a healthy relationship with the kid's mother. And I recognize it doesn't matter what I say. Arms open wide, this idea of never trying to compete, never trying to replace, whatever I can do to make it better, easier, doesn't matter what I say. It's someone else's personal journey to get to a place to then accept the reality of in which my role is now, and in someone's own inner work. And so I have to be okay with that. But that's really, really hard for me, because I'm kind of like, can we all just be love and just do our best for everyone? But it's hard.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm similar situation, but I think that made the difference for me is that my fiance's mom was like my fiance's child's mom was like, she was cool. She was just, we met because she realized, like he and I were moving forward with our relationship. She met me and it was all love. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get what you're saying, because before then I was just like, what do I say? Like, what is acceptable, But then it was like, okay, I feel the release and I feel a little more comfortable about what my role is within it. But I think like, for me, I just remind myself, at least this is what I've had to do. I just remind myself like, okay, you support your fiance and his parenting with his children, and like you are who you are, like you're not trying to be anybody's mom. So I try not to overstep those boundaries, and like I'm just the cool, like, hey, what's up, homie? Like I get to be the cool one, you know what I mean? Because technically his middle son has two great parents. Yeah. So I don't have to parent him, essentially. I can just like, we're cool. Like, you need to talk to me, come talk to me. Like, hey, what's the latest rapper that you're into?
Yeah,
I mean, this TikTok dance. Let's do a TikTok dance. And he's like, no. No way. So I get to be cool. I'm like, all right, cool. So I don't have to worry, the pressure's off, I guess. But I understand exactly how you feel when you're like, okay, because you're a respectful woman and you want to respect someone's motherhood. And so I get like, you're perfectly right when you're like, I just want everything to be good. I don't want to overstep boundaries. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I guess like the hardship in that, and even hearing what you're saying, Megan, is that I do have to mother. Like they're in our care, like all the time. And so, I mean, there's just certain things that I feel like, I don't know, just like little things. If I've taken the kids to their basketball practice or their games, they love when I like film and try to grab their highlights, and there's little things where I feel like I wish I had. Like, I know they want their mother to be there, right? And I'm excited to be there, and I get to record it. Like, I just sometimes wish I could be that person, be like, sending it to
look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But sadly, that's not the case. And I only hope and pray that it comes to that place in the future. But again, the frustrating thing is there's nothing I can do or say.
Right.
It's someone else's work to get to that place to be able to receive what I'm willing to give.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Motherhood, I recognize. One, I have a mother, obviously, and she raised 3 girls on her own. And I recognize now the sacrifice that parents give, not just with their bodies, their mothers, with their bodies, but like what you do has humbled me beyond anything that I've ever experienced in my life, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why I love this man. But it's something that I too have been so blessed to be a part of, and not having birthed anyone, but it's been an innate feeling that is triggered within me that I'm also grateful for. Because I also know people that are like, girl, he got kids, but it's very distant. And I couldn't even imagine not trying relationships with the very little people that say my person is first and foremost responsible for, So I just say to mothers out there, one day I hope and pray, God willing, that I get to birth my own. But it to me is such a blessing. And to anyone that might be listening, because I get this question or get this kind of like, they want to know my thoughts on this idea. Well, how do you date a man with 4 kids. Like, why would you even want to? How, you know, or I'm dating someone with 2 kids, but girl, like, I just feel like, you know, it's not, you know, that kind of hesitation.
Yeah.
And usually I'm telling women that, especially of a certain age, you know, it is going to be very unlikely to meet a partner that is probably, you know, in whether or not he's in his late 30s, mid 30s, like 30s, early 40s, that does not have children. So I feel like before you consider dating a man with children, regardless of age, you have to first do some inner work and reflection on yourself as a human being.
Yeah.
To understand that in loving someone that has children on this earth, it means that you have to, and I say have to because I think it is a very huge part of the puzzle, learn how to give yourself and lean into loving other people that he also cares about. Wow.
Yeah. It's selfless love.
How that could happen any other way from a healthy perspective. And so, like, people are like, wow, I feel like I have to work on me first before I even consider dating him seriously. I'm like, heck yeah. Heck yeah. You don't have the capacity to love a 4-year-old, you know, that would be in your life to some capacity, whatever those circumstances. It doesn't make any sense for you to be with this man. And then I would also question whether or not you love him.
Yeah.
I always say you can't expect anything in a relationship that you're not willing to give. So if you don't really love him, then you can also expect not to be really loved back. And so I think it's really unhealthy.
You better speak these
That's
gems.
A stinger.
But it's true. No, it's not true.
It's true.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's hard truth for people that are like, I'm trying to date, I'm trying to find a man that ain't got no kids. This, and I'm like, well, best of luck to you. Best of luck.
I know, right? Best of luck, sis. You're going to be on your own for a minute, probably. All right. Might be now, to each his own. I want to say this, Lita. I cannot wait until you birth your own children because you're already like a really great mom. And like, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have to birth children to be a good mom. Like it's in you. It's, you know what I'm saying? So I cannot wait to see what girl, you're going to have a whole tribe. Okay.
Wait till that. Yeah.
We are the crazy types. We are the crazy human beings that be like, well, kids, hey, why not 6? Why not? In California, how are we going to do it? God willing, we just gonna.
I feel like one day I'm going to see like some new trailer and it's going to be your whole family on like VH1.
Right. No, it's going to be Lita with the leader of children. That's what it's going to be. Okay. Lita, what's you have so much going on in your life. What are some of the things that are coming up next for you that we can check out?
Yeah, great question. Well, as mentioned earlier, with this apparel line, it's been really recent that I've been really intentional about what I want to do, the items I want to release. So I'm actually really excited to say that I'm about to launch actually our new signature second skin seamless, gear.
Ooh, really we can be test models if you want.
Yeah, girl. Because I got a little friction in between my thighs. I'll see how good that material is. Okay.
If they work for me, I'm sure they're gonna work for everyone. Definitely, I'm really putting a lot of time, energy, and heart into building out that line, that Thick Athletics apparel line. And then, like I said, just more passionately and more recently, the Hello Fitness TV page, our Instagram, like we're trying to grow this. We just feel like we're just really passionate about, like, really getting to play Miss Oprah. Like this idea of like using a platform to just bring different types of talent, whether it's wellness, doctors, just creators of the world, just to share the gems that they have to share with the world. And I'm really excited about building that out. So that there is another thing. And outside of that, because of COVID, I'm also running live sessions and virtual classes, which I honestly wasn't really excited about at first because I'm such a people's person. I'd rather just be in the presence of people. But the community that we're building on there is so awesome that I'm really enjoying that. So there's also workouts, virtual live classes that I'm doing.
Wait, where can people go for that? I'm speaking for myself.
Is living right on my Instagram page. So if you just click the link, you'll find those accounts. It's probably the easiest way to explain it.
And what's your Instagram?
Instagram is follow the Lita, which is just my name, Lita, play on words, and that is across everything.
Okay. Yes, so don't be surprised when me and Marisa are in there like, hi, we're here to work out with you, Lita.
It's so funny.
So we're at our final segment. It is called I'm Fine. It is well, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being transparent and sharing your story with us. I know a lot of people, they go through things like this. This is like real life. So we like to always find people who are dealing with real life issues that can help, somebody else. So thank you so much for being super transparent. And we can finally get you.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta take kids to school. I don't know. I was like, wait, how many kids you gotta take to school? But no, so we so we have our last segment. It's called I'm Fine. Basically, as a mother, you go through a lot during your day, and people always ask you, how you're doing, and most of the time we lie and we say we're fine. So we like to leave you with just play on words. Something, to make sure that you're fine, both mentally, physically. We like to leave you with a little inspiration. So today, can you hear me? I feel like a little.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Don't wait until you reached your goal to be proud of yourself. Be proud of every step you take towards reaching that goal. And I thought that was perfect for today's conversation. Whether you had a baby, whether you gained some COVID weight, whatever the case may be, just be happy with the little steps that you're taking in life every single day.
Oh, yes. Oh, Lita, before we get out of here, any final words for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I think I've pretty much shared what I typically share. And, as mentioned, just it's really important to be kinder to yourself. But in times of this nature, with COVID happening, with such a fight and battle for equality in this country, I want to encourage people to, although there is the fight, right, and there's the fight to be safe with COVID, I do really encourage people, whether or not it's once a day or once a week, just to find 5 minutes, 5 minutes just to be still, still. It's really interesting what thoughts and feelings come over your, not just physical form, but your spirit, if you will, that may be your intuition speaking to your higher self. And sometimes when I just need a break, I literally just sit still, close my eyes, and let my body feel what it's going to feel, let my mind think where it's going to think, and just let my intuition kind of surface. And it really helps me. And it's kind of perhaps like a form of meditation. But I really encourage people to try that, and hopefully that can help you center yourself and find a bit of balance in all this turmoil. That's something that I'd like to at least perhaps anyway. It's just my advice on a bit of stillness, aka a bit of meditation, 5 minutes a day.
I love
it. I'm
gonna
try that.
I am too. Oh, I like that. Okay, you guys, it's been such a great time taking a break with y'all. We thank you for taking a break with us. And we'll see you next week because we've got a lot of shows coming up with more mommies and daddy guests. So follow our beautiful guest, Lita Lewis, at Follow the Lita, Lita. I'm Megan Thomas. Follow me at Meg Scoop everywhere. And don't forget to become a Patreon member. Subscribe to us. Make sure you support a Black business. Right here on Mommy Needs a Break.
And I'm Marisa. Follow me at She Is Marisa J. Megan gave all the handles. And so we will see you next time.
No, I didn't do the podcast stuff. That's on you. You got to do the podcast stuff.
NNAB podcast. What episode are we in? 42?
Right. We do this every week. We're like, no.
Follow us at MNAB podcast and our website, mnabpodcast.com.
Marisa, we literally do this every single week.
Can we just change it to Mommy Needs a Break.com?
That was already taken. It was, right? They hated on us so bad. All right, y'all.
It's like, bye.
We love you. Bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.